The night was dark. Thousands of families sat quietly inside their homes throughout Egypt. Parents held their children close. No one dared step outside. A sense of fear hung over the land like a storm cloud. For generations, the Israelites had lived as slaves in Egypt. They worked under the blazing sun. They built cities for Pharaoh. They carried heavy burdens and endured cruel treatment. Day after day, year after year, they cried out to God for deliverance. And God heard their prayers. Far away in the wilderness, God called a man named Moses. Once a prince of Egypt, Moses had fled into exile after making a terrible mistake. For 40 years he lived as a shepherd. Then one day, while tending sheep near Mount Horeb, Moses saw something extraordinary. A bush was on fire, yet it was not burning up. As Moses approached, a voice called from the flames, "Moses, Moses!" It was God. The Lord revealed his plan. He had seen the suffering of his people. He had heard their cries, and he had chosen Moses to lead them to freedom. At first, Moses was afraid. He doubted himself. "What if they don't believe me?" he asked. But God promised to be with him. Armed with nothing but faith and a shepherd's staff, Moses returned to Egypt. Standing before Pharaoh, Moses delivered God's message, "Let my people go." Pharaoh laughed. He saw no reason to release his workforce. Instead, he made life even harder for the Israelites. But God began displaying his power. The Nile River turned to blood. Frogs covered the land. Gnats and flies filled the air. Livestock died. Boils broke out. Hail destroyed crops. Locusts consumed what remained. Darkness covered Egypt for 3 days. Yet Pharaoh's heart remained hard. Again and again, he refused to obey God. Finally, the most devastating plague came. The firstborn throughout Egypt died during the night. The cries of grief echoed through every city. Pharaoh could resist no longer. In the darkness before dawn, he summoned Moses. "Leave," Pharaoh said. "Take your people and go." At last, after centuries of slavery, freedom had come. The Israelites quickly gathered their belongings. Families packed what little they owned. Children held their parents' hands. Old men and women prepared for a journey unlike any other. Under God's direction, a massive pillar of cloud guided them by day. At night, a pillar of fire lit their path. Thousands upon thousands marched into the wilderness. Excitement filled the air. For the first time in generations, they were free. But freedom would soon be tested. Back in Egypt, Pharaoh began to regret his decision. The reality of losing his workforce struck him. His anger returned. "What have we done?" he shouted. Immediately, Pharaoh assembled his army. Hundreds of chariots raced across the desert. The finest soldiers in Egypt pursued the Israelites. Soon, panic spread through the Israelite camp. Dust clouds appeared on the horizon. The Egyptian army was approaching. Ahead of them stretched the Red Sea. Behind them came Pharaoh's soldiers. There was nowhere to run. Fear swept through the people. Some began crying. Others blamed Moses. "Why did you bring us here?" they shouted. "Weren't there enough graves in Egypt?" Their hope quickly turned into terror. But Moses stood firm. He looked at the frightened crowd and spoke words that would echo through history. "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you." The people watched anxiously. The army was getting closer. The sound of chariot wheels thundered across the desert. Then God spoke to Moses, "Raise your staff. Stretch out your hand over the sea." Moses obeyed. He lifted the staff high above the water. Suddenly, A powerful wind began to blow. The sea started to move. The waters separated. Higher and higher they rose. A path of dry ground appeared where water had been moments before. Walls of water towered on both sides. The people stared in amazement. It was impossible, yet it was happening before their eyes. God had made a way where there was no way. The Israelites began crossing. Children walked beside parents. Grandparents carefully followed. Thousands of people moved between towering walls of water. Fish swam behind transparent curtains of sea. The entire nation crossed safely. Meanwhile, Pharaoh's army continued their pursuit. Blinded by pride, they rushed into the path God had created. Their horses galloped forward. Their chariots rolled between the walls of water. But suddenly, confusion struck the Egyptians. The wheels of their chariots became stuck. Panic spread among the soldiers. Some began to realize the truth. "The Lord is fighting against us," they cried. But it was too late. God told Moses to stretch out his hand once more. As Moses obeyed, the waters began to return. The towering walls collapsed. The sea rushed back with incredible force. Chariots disappeared beneath the waves. Horses vanished. Soldiers were swept away. Within moments, Pharaoh's mighty army was gone. The greatest military force in the world had been defeated, not by weapons, not by soldiers, but by the power of God. When morning came, the Israelites stood safely on the opposite shore. The threat was over. The enemy was gone. Their freedom was finally secured. For a moment, silence filled the air. Then joy erupted. Men shouted with celebration, women danced, children laughed. The entire nation praised God. Moses' sister Miriam took a tambourine and led the people in worship. They sang songs of victory. They praised the God who had rescued them, the God who parted the sea, the God who kept his promises, the God who made a path through impossible circumstances. That day became one of the greatest moments in biblical history. Generations would remember it. Prophets would speak of it. Psalms would celebrate it. And believers would draw strength from it. Because the story of the Red Sea is about much more than water. It is about faith. The Israelites saw only obstacles. God saw an opportunity for a miracle. The people saw a sea. God saw a pathway. The people saw an army. God saw a defeated enemy. The lesson remains true today. Sometimes life places us between an army and a sea. Problems surround us. Fear overwhelms us. We see no solution, no escape, and no future. But the same God who parted the Red Sea still works in impossible situations. The same God who delivered Israel still delivers his people. The same God who made a way through the waters still makes a way when there seems to be none. The Israelites never forgot the day God parted the sea, and neither should we, because every impossible situation is an opportunity for God to display his power. Every obstacle can become a testimony. Every challenge can become a miracle. The Red Sea reminds us that God's power is greater than any problem we face. When fear says there is no way forward, faith remembers the waters that parted. When doubt says the battle is lost, faith remembers the army that disappeared beneath the waves. And when life seems impossible, we remember the God who made a road through the sea. For nothing is impossible with God.